Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Lizzie, and oh my gosh, today I just saw the Demon Slayer movie, and I didn't think I was gonna make a video on it, but after seeing it, like, how can I not? To be totally honest with you. Wow. So obviously, if you haven't seen the Demon Slayer movie, I'm going to be spoiling like everything, so I wouldn't recommend watching this video. But after you watch the movie, come back and see me, okay? So we can talk about it together. Yeah, I was looking forward to this movie. I didn't really expect it to be as good as I feel like it turned out to be. You know, it was nice I was able to see it in a theater here in America where it finally came out just this weekend, or it may have even came out last weekend, but this weekend where I'm from. And you know, I was, getting the full theater experience. I haven't been in a movie theater since like over a year. So I finally went with my friend and my good friend Joaquin. We went and saw the movie together. And so I wasn't expecting a lot out of this movie. And he had actually already seen it once before, just the other day. And I was like, don't spoil it for me. But he was like, well, I definitely cried. And I was like, oh, okay, so... But he cries easily, so I was like, okay, well, you know what, whatever. I was like not thinking anything about it, but I was like, okay, someone's probably gonna die or whatever, but I knew it couldn't be like one of the main cast. So there was only one other person who it could have been, and that was Rengoku, the fire Hashira. So I already was kind of like, all right, he's probably gonna die, whatever. But at the beginning of the movie, like, at this point, you only meet him like for a brief second in the actual show. And then you meet him in the beginning of this movie when they're on the train. And I can't believe, first off, I can't believe like this entire movie takes place on a train. Like, I know there are movies like that, but it just blows my mind that the setting doesn't really change, but the movie just all takes place in the one area. It's like such a small... I don't think it wasn't a terribly long movie, but still, like... That's pretty good in my book. I'm sorry, I'm bouncing all over the place, but just kind of like going with my initial thoughts here. Like, again, I'm like fresh out of seeing it just like an hour ago, so I wanted to get all my fresh thoughts. So yeah, at the beginning of the movie, I didn't really like Rengoku. He didn't really stand out to me as anybody special. I kind of thought he was weird. Like, his face is just always like... So I was like, okay, whatever, dude. So when I kind of figured, I was like, all right, he might die. I was like, well, whatever. Like, I don't really care. You know, it's not one of my main peepos, so whatever. But you know, they like play him up. He's like, ah, yes, I will take you under my wing and train you. And I was like, okay, sure. And then he shows off his badass skills, killing a few demons at the beginning, and that was pretty cool. His fire abilities are very pretty in anime style, and it was cool. So I was like, okay. Then it got interesting with the whole like dreamscape, where basically the main demon puts them to sleep and they're all having such peaceful dreams, and it shows everybody's different dreams. And I really, you know, of course, like, Tanjiro sees his family again, and I was like, oh, this is sad. But it wasn't like, I'm crying sad. I was like, okay, yeah, that's sad. I mean, him, you know, having to leave them to come out of the dream was very sad too. His inner subconscious, though, being like this beautiful, like, cloudscape. I was like, yes. I was like, Tanjiro is like the sun. He is just so loving and warm and kind. And so I felt like that really encapsulated him. And then... Inosuke's was just like funny and, you know, weird. Inosuke didn't really get like too much character development. Tanjiro was probably the only one that really did, but I still love Inosuke, and he got quite a bit of screen time in this, so this was good. So his dreamscape was just like kind of a funny, you know, comedy angle. Same with Zenitsu, who didn't annoy me as much as he did in the anime in this movie, and probably because he had the least amount of screen time out of the three main people. So, you know, I would have loved more Nezuko, but she only got a little bit in there. But she still got some action in there. And then we get to see Rengoku's dream, which starts out and you're kind of like, I was like, what? Like his dad was like, you're useless. I was like, how is this a happy dream? And then I see like, oh, it's his brother and he loves his brother and yada, yada, yada. So that was all cool. Tanjiro gets out of the dreamscape first, being a badass, taking on the main guy, using his pretty water breathing techniques. So cool. And we get kind of an insight onto his sword because, you know, they talk about it in the anime that his sword is black and they're like, oh, how unfortunate, or oh, like, you know what I mean? They don't really tell him what it means. And Rengoku tells Tanjiro that he's like, well, I've heard that those swordsmen have a hard time finding which one they want to master. So in my mind, that means that maybe the black sword is able to master more than one technique. So that Tanjiro gets to choose. And he talked about how if Tanjiro wants to learn fire breathing, there have been Hashira in the past that know water and fire. So I feel like that's definitely the route they're sounding like he's gonna go. I don't know if he's gonna learn more techniques than just those two, but you know, they definitely all still have a long way to go. So yeah, and then they find out that the demon merged with the train and they gotta fend off the train, and him and Inosuke work together like to take him down, and I thought that was really cool. I was like, yeah, they get into buddy. And then, you know, they defeat the train gets derailed. Tanjiro gets injured in the process, and then, you know, I kind of felt like they weren't quite out of the woods, but I was like, well, I don't know what's gonna happen from here, but okay. I thought maybe like the train demon would be like, no, I'm gonna be more powerful, more, I don't know, come back, or that like the main villain from the series, which I think his name is Mugen. I don't 100% remember. It's been a while. But I was like, oh, maybe he'll come and be like, actually, I'm going to give you more power to try again. But he did not come. No, instead, one of the higher demons, the upper three, came down and wanted to fight Rengoku. I'm like having trouble saying his name. So I was like, okay, here we go. And man, their fight was awesome. Like, it was just awesome. Just like the movements and the different attacks and like all the fire breathing text moves were beautiful. Like the tiger and like his Rengoku form, beautiful. And when they get in that final interlocking moment and, you know, he thinks he's bested him and he like slashes through him and his sword gets stopped, but then he turns in and cuts back up. I was like, holy shit. I was like losing my mind. So that was like totally awesome. And then of course you kind of getting the feeling that Rengoku's probably not going to survive this fight. And he has flashbacks to his childhood and talking with his mother. When that's where the movie like got me. Like it got me there. I started crying. Because it was like his mom was the one who, you know, we learned about how his dad's he was like this really passionate person, and then something happened and he was like no longer passionate anymore. And I don't know if that had to do with his mom dying. We don't really know. And we might find out in the anime. It sounds like Tanjiro's going to be heading to their house, but it was Rengoku's mother that instilled in him the desire to help the weak, to use his powers and his strength to protect others, and, you know, probably why he really became a Hashira. And she told him, she's like, I'm so happy to be the mother of such a strong and gentle, like, child. And I was like, ah. So I started crying there a little bit, but I was like, oh, guys, let's tear it up a little bit. I was like, okay, good. And then, you know, he's fighting and he, like, starts to slash the demon's head off, even though he's, like, dying. And he's so close, and I was just like, please just let him have this. I mean, Tanjiro was like getting up at this point, like trying to go help him with Inosuke. But I was almost, in my mind, I was like, I really actually didn't want Tanjiro to like make the final cut off his head or Inosuke, because I was like, Rengoku deserves this, like, he deserves to be able to finish killing it. And it's like, he was like this much neck left for his sword to go through. And of course, it didn't go all the way through before the demon was able to break free. I mean, the sun was about to come up, and so the demon does get away. And it was really frustrating. And Tanjiro shows that frustration. He starts breaking down, screaming and yelling at the demon, telling him he's a coward. And I felt that, you know, I feel like you feel that. And then Rengoku is dying, and he gives his last dying words to Tanjiro and to Inosuke a little bit. Zenitsu was not there to receive any words of, wisdom, but that's fine. So he, bestows upon Tanjiro, he gives him the task of going to his brother and telling him his last dying words and his father. And, I thought that was beautiful. And then his mother, her image shows up in the background, and Rengoku sees her and he says, "Did I do good, mother? Like, did I do good?" And she was like, "I'm so proud of you." And that made me, then I was like bawling. And then Tanjiro was crying more because he was like, "I'm so frustrated that I'm not strong enough and that there are stronger people than me fighting and I can't, get to that point." And yeah, and then so I was like sobbing at that point. I was like, my mask was like absorbing my tears. It was like great. That was the first time I've ever cried in a movie, seeing a movie with my friend Joaquin. So he was all like, "Oh my God, you cried." I was like, "Fuck off." Yeah. So that was like, summary of the movie basically. And it was a great movie. Like, not that many, even just live action movies move me to tears. I'm just not that much of a crier most of the time. Even anime. I watch a lot of anime. Some anime make me cry, but they're, few in between. When I first started watching Demon Slayer, I did get really sad at the beginning with Tanjiro's tragedy happening to his family, but it was never to the point where I was sobbing. And this movie made me sob over a character that I had just met, like literally just met, did not like build up a relationship with over seasons of anime or over, a long period of time or of seeing like his whole journey. This movie attached me to a character that I had just barely met. I got glimpses into his past and into his journey, but that you could tell what he stood for, who he was as a person, and you wanted him to win that fight, and you felt for him when he, when he was dying, and you felt the other character's sadness because you also had bonded with them. But I think that was an amazing thing for this movie, to be able to bond me to this character over such a short period of time, enough that I actually did cry at the end of it, even though at the beginning I knew he was gonna die. That I already had known. I was like, okay, he's probably gonna die. And even then, I couldn't mentally prepare myself for the actual attachment that I got to that character. So I think this movie was like fantastic. It had the beautiful animation and a beautiful soundtrack that went along with it. It only just helped, amplify everything I felt in the movie. And I just was like, wow, this is why I love anime. Like, I was legit at the end of the movie, I was like, this is why I love anime. For this, like, it moves me, it moves people. And other people are passionate about different things. I'm just pretty passionate about anime. So if for some reason you're watching this and you haven't seen Demon Slayer, because maybe you were like wanting to know if it was actually any good, what are you doing? Go watch it. It's really good. It's an anime that I think will only continue to grow. I wasn't feeling that way at the end of the season, the first season. I was kind of like, it was starting to end really good, but then like the last episode kind of threw me off a little bit. But after this movie, I'm like, yes, this is going to be a wonderful anime. It's it's gonna be really sad. It's already been really sad. Not even just the movie. Just, you know, the show itself is... It's not like other shonen anime where it's a lot of happy-go-lucky, dancing. And they do throw that in there. I mean, there's a lot of comedic characters in the main three, and for that reason, I think they have to have it that way. Otherwise, this show would be unbearably sad, and it would also probably numb you to the more tragic scenes and moments in the show. And so they do a really good job of balancing having that comedy and the light moments and the great action and the beautiful, you know, just, oh my god, it's beautiful animation of their powers, of their breathing techniques. Oh, it's so awesome that, you know, it doesn't numb you to those tragic moments, and actually almost, like, in a way amplifies them. And so it's gonna be a beautiful anime, and it's gonna be a sad anime, I just know it. But this movie, like, was really good. I'm probably gonna give it a 9 on my anime list. Honestly, yeah. No, I honestly, well, I like almost want to give it a 10. If I could give it a 9.5, I would. What would make it a 10 for me? I mean, they did some animation choices, which were interesting. I mean, the 3D elements, for the most part, they felt really good. There was a little bit with the demon train that was kind of felt like weird, but the rest of it was actually like perfect. I'm trying to think. Like, I'm like, maybe I am selling it short and I should just give it a 10. But I also don't know if it's just the high of me coming right out of the movie, you know? If that's going to age that way. It's at least a 9 and perhaps a 10. Maybe it's a 10 in my heart, but a 9 in actuality, a 9.5, but a 10 in my heart. Yeah, like, it's fantastic. So I know I've been raving on about the movie and the soundtrack and all that was all beautiful. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else I really need to talk about for this movie other than to tell you to go watch it if you haven't. Or if you know, want to talk to me more about it, you know, feel free to leave some comments, follow me on Twitter. And I'm also starting to do a little bit of Twitch streaming too. So just to promote myself. Like this video if you liked my input on the movie, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more anime content like this. Feel free to let me know anything you want me to talk about or to do. Yeah, I don't know, feeling like that. So, all right, thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your night.